Nobody expected it to end like this. Not after the tearful airport goodbyes. Not after the promises. Not after the camera stopped rolling. But right now, behind filtered Instagram posts and carefully worded captions, something very different is happening with Nicole Sherbini and Mahmoud El Sherbini, and fans are starting to notice the cracks. Because the truth is, they're not just fighting anymore. They're scrambling to survive. And what they're doing now has viewers completely divided.
When Nicole first appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, the other way, she looked like someone chasing a romantic fantasy. Soft-spoken, artistic, a California woman who believed love could bridge cultures, continents, and deeply rooted beliefs. Mahmoud, on the other hand, came across as traditional, firm in his expectations, and unwavering about the life he envisioned for his wife in Egypt. From day one, their relationship felt like two worlds colliding in slow motion. And fans couldn't look away. If you've been following the real story behind the edits, the stuff that never quite makes it to air, you already know this situation runs deeper than awkward arguments about clothing or culture. What we're seeing now is the aftershock of years of pressure, sacrifice, and financial strain quietly building behind the scenes. And if you're the kind of viewer who watches between the lines, you might want to stick close and follow along, because the reality here is messier than most people realize. When Nicole first moved to Egypt, she didn't just relocate geographically. She stepped into an entirely different life structure. New rules, new expectations, new limitations. What looked on TV like stubborn disagreements were, in reality, signs of something much heavier: two people who loved each other but fundamentally didn't understand how to exist in the same world. Friends close to the situation have hinted that the off-camera tension was often thicker than what viewers saw. Nicole reportedly struggled with isolation. Mahmoud reportedly felt pressure to maintain his cultural expectations while also trying to keep the marriage intact. That kind of emotional tug-of-war doesn't just disappear when filming wraps. It lingers. And lately, fans have started noticing subtle but telling changes in their online behavior. At first, it was small things. Nicole posting more solo content. Mahmoud appearing less frequently in her updates. Then came the comments. On TikTok, viewers started asking blunt questions under Nicole's videos: "Are you still together? Why don't we see Mahmoud anymore? Something feels off." Over on X, speculation threads began stacking up. Reddit, of course, went into full detective mode, comparing timestamps, analyzing backgrounds in photos, even tracking who liked whose posts. And that's when things started getting interesting. Because while neither Nicole nor Mahmoud has made a dramatic public breakup announcement, their recent moves suggest something far more complicated than a simple happily ever after. Multiple fans noticed that Nicole has been quietly leaning hard into her fashion and design content again, the same creative identity she seemed to put on pause during the height of her relationship struggles. Her posts feel more independent, more self-focused, less couple-centric. That shift alone raised eyebrows. But Mahmoud's situation is what really set off alarm bells. Because behind the scenes, there are growing signs that financial pressure may be playing a much bigger role in their current reality than the show ever fully explored. Immigration stress, cost of living, work limitations, cultural adjustment. Those aren't just storyline talking points, they're real-life stress multipliers. And sources close to the franchise have long hinted that couples who struggle the most on camera often face even heavier burdens once the spotlight fades. Here's where the story takes its first sharp turn. Fans initially assumed that if Nicole and Mahmoud were struggling, it would be purely emotional. Communication issues, cultural clashes, the usual. But recent online breadcrumbs suggest the situation may be more practical and more urgent. Several viewers noticed Mahmoud appearing in content that looked noticeably different from his earlier TV portrayal, more low-key, more focused on everyday hustle rather than relationship updates. Meanwhile, Nicole's recent activity hints at someone actively trying to stabilize her own financial footing. Put simply, this doesn't look like a couple comfortably riding reality TV fame. This looks like two people trying to figure out how to stay afloat. And here's the part TLC never really dug into. Reality TV exposure doesn't always translate into long-term financial security. Yes, cast members get paid. Yes, they gain followers. But sustaining that momentum, especially across international moves and cultural transitions, is a completely different challenge. Midway through their televised journey, there were already subtle warning signs. Nicole's visible discomfort adjusting to life in Egypt wasn't just emotional, it had practical implications. Work opportunities were limited, independence was restricted, her usual creative outlets were harder to maintain. At the same time, Mahmoud faced his own pressures. Providing stability, navigating public scrutiny, managing a relationship that was being judged globally in real time. That kind of dual pressure cooker can either strengthen a couple, or slowly crack the foundation. And if you've been watching closely, you might have noticed which direction this story seems to be drifting. Now here's where things get even more layered, and honestly, this is the part most casual viewers completely missed. Behind the polished episodes, there were moments when Nicole's body language told a very different story than her words. Small hesitations, long pauses, that distant look during some of their more tense conversations. Editors can shape a narrative, but micro-expressions are harder to hide. Several longtime viewers on Reddit recently resurfaced old clips pointing out how often Nicole appeared emotionally exhausted rather than simply frustrated. Not dramatic, not explosive, just worn down. And Mahmoud, for his part, often looked equally strained, caught between defending his values and trying to keep his marriage from unraveling on international television. When you rewatch those moments now, knowing what we're seeing unfold online, they hit differently. Because this may never have been just about culture. It may have been about sustainability from the very beginning. Quick pause for a second. If you've been following this rollercoaster from day one, you already know these stories never stay simple for long. Back to what's happening now. The social media temperature around Nicole and Mahmoud has shifted noticeably in the past few months. Comment sections that once debated who was right in their arguments have turned into something else entirely. Concern, speculation, and, in some corners, outright skepticism. One TikTok comment that gained traction recently read, "This doesn't look like a couple thriving. It looks like damage control." That sentiment has been echoed across platforms. Instagram watchers point out that Nicole's recent aesthetic leans heavily into independence and self-rebuilding energy. Not the vibe of someone deeply embedded in newlywed bliss. Meanwhile, Mahmoud's online footprint has grown quieter in ways that fans find telling. Not dramatic, just different, and sometimes those are the biggest clues. But here's the mid-story twist that TLC definitely didn't spell out clearly. Sources within the extended franchise community have suggested that one of the biggest ongoing stressors for internationally split couples isn't the big fights viewers see, it's the slow grind of everyday logistics afterward. Paperwork delays, work eligibility, housing instability, financial imbalance between partners. These issues rarely make for dramatic TV moments, but in real life, they can quietly suffocate a relationship over time. And if you line that reality up with what Nicole and Mahmoud appear to be navigating right now, the picture becomes a lot more complicated. Because what fans are witnessing may not be a sudden collapse. It may be the long tail of pressure that's been building since the beginning. Still, the biggest reveal isn't just that they're struggling. It's how they're responding. Instead of disappearing from the public eye, which many fractured couples do, both Nicole and Mahmoud appear to be pivoting. Adjusting, hustling in their own ways. Nicole is clearly reinvesting energy into her personal brand and creative identity. Mahmoud seems focused on stabilizing his own path, whatever form that takes behind the scenes. In other words, they may not be thriving as the fairy tale couple viewers once hoped for. But they're not exactly walking away quietly either. And that gray area is exactly why the internet can't stop watching them. Because the truth is messy. The relationship may be strained. The pressure is very real. But the story isn't clean enough, yet, for a dramatic, headline-ready ending. And that uncertainty is fueling non-stop speculation across TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube comment sections right now. Some fans believe they're slowly drifting apart but trying to maintain appearances. Others think they're privately working through serious financial and immigration hurdles that viewers simply don't understand. And then there's the third camp, the most divided group of all, who believe Nicole and Mahmoud are deliberately keeping their situation ambiguous to maintain relevance in the ever-competitive reality TV ecosystem. Because in the world of franchise fame, attention is currency. Silence can be strategy, and ambiguity keeps audiences talking. So what's the real answer? Right now, the clearest truth is this: Nicole and Mahmoud are no longer living inside the neat narrative box viewers were originally given. Their current reality looks more like two people navigating survival mode in real time, emotionally, financially, and publicly. And the biggest question hanging over all of it isn't whether they've argued. We already know they have. It's whether love alone is enough to carry them through the very real, very unglamorous pressures they're facing now. Because if the past year has shown anything, it's that reality TV romance and real-world sustainability are two very different things. So here's what viewers are now quietly debating in every corner of the internet. Are Nicole and Mahmoud slowly rebuilding their lives, together but differently? Or are we watching the early stages of a separation that neither of them is quite ready to confirm publicly? Either way, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. And if history inside the TLC universe has taught fans anything, it's that the quiet phases are often when the biggest shifts are already in motion. What do you think is really happening behind those carefully curated posts, survival strategy, or the beginning of the end? Because the next move they make might finally give us the answer. And when it does, you already know we'll be watching closely.